Okay. Okay. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Typical Skeptic podcast. I'm not going to waste up any time playing an intro or anything like that. We have tonight we go deep with literally one of my favorite guests of all time, Penny Bradley. She's an SSP veteran and host of Nacht Waffen Pilot. Penny has become one of the most controversial yet poignant voices in the disclosure community, sharing her experiences of off-world German factions, black ops programs, and hidden breakaway civilizations. But also, she's very good with like current events and disclosure. So I thought, who would be better to come on and talk about what's going on in the world other than Penny? And she has some really good information for you guys. So I'm really excited to get into this tonight. And you guys can follow her, on her Odyssey channel, which is Nacht Waffen Pilot. That's where she posts all her new stuff, and that's odyssey.com/at Nacht Waffen Pilot. And with all that said, I'd like to give her a big warm welcome back to the show. Penny, thank you so much for coming back on. How are you?
I'm probably as overwhelmed by this war as everybody else. I've been watching the economic factors for a couple of years. I follow Catherine Austin Fitz and her Solari report. So yeah, shout out. If you have the money to follow her on her site, do so. She has some of the freshest and most accurate information out there. I follow a couple of other people. One is, I need to share screen again. We're going to go through these folks. This is someone I will be sharing when we get to that. The nitrogen trap is the real world effects of what this war is going to do to us over the next couple of years. And this man, Shanaka Anselm Pereira, and I hope to God I didn't butcher his name. He's one of the most intelligent folks that I know out there, and he's sharing how blocking the oil is messing with everything else. So I shared this with you before you went live. This is a new site to me, world-monitor.com, and it literally has links to articles about everything going on in the entire world. You get these dots that you can pull up and get reports like this blue one here is Greenland. Denmark is doing military contingency planning for potential U.S. invasion. They have sent explosives and blood supplies to Greenland as part of this. They will keep an article up for 48 hours. This one is in Dutch or Danish, and it has a translate function. Denmark prepared for attack from the USA, and it's incident and elevated, and it's from today. And you can just go through, and the ones that have numbers, you can open it up and it will pop up into dots. The blue ones are the freshest, and they kind of lose tone over time. But this is where I'm getting a lot of the information, because it gives articles from all over the world. So you can actually go through and see what everybody's saying about it. It's a way to bypass the censorship in your country. Now, that may not sound like a really big deal, but we know absolutely for certain. Wait a minute, what did I do? I'm not still sharing. Okay. We know absolutely for certain that Project Mockingbird, Operation Mockingbird, was designed in the 1960s to completely take over our media so that nothing we knew would be accurate, so that we would be completely in the dark and believe whatever they told us. The only way around that is to listen to what everybody else is telling their people. Okay, they are very likely to tell the truth about us while they lie to their own people about their own stuff. So you have, what I have found works the best is to listen to your enemies, listen to your friends, once in a while listen to what your actual country is telling you, but most of the time balance them. Um, I make an effort to listen to both left wing and right wing sources. And trust me, what's scary as hell is when they agree. Seriously.
Yeah.
When you
I
have the
know, right?
when you have the far right and the far left agreeing on something, you go, what? This one you have to pay attention to. Now, the war started on Purim. That matters. Okay? Purim.
Tell us about that. What is Purim?
Purim is a holiday that goes back to ancient times. Um, it's from the book of Esther in the Old Testament or the Jewish Bible, whichever you want to call it. And it's about Queen Esther was basically kidnapped from her wedding and taken by the king instead. And this guy that was a high official was trying to destroy the Jewish people, and she blocked him. And then there was a war where the Jewish people defended themselves. So they were in captivity in Persia, what they called Persia, what the people there have
Wow.
always called Iran. So when they start talking about Purim, they are talking about war against Persia. Now, this is a really important thing because in 2015, Netanyahu came to Congress and talked about going to war with Iran. And he was talking to them on Purim. Now,
I'll add that.
the date on our calendar doesn't match up because we use a solar calendar. Religious Jews use a lunar calendar like Asia does. And it's the same date every year on their calendar. Um, so this is from the date the war started. It's from the Jerusalem Post. Exactly 11 years ago, on March 3rd, on the eve of Purim, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu delivered what was arguably the most consequential speech of his career before a joint session of Congress, and he laid out a full-throated case against the nuclear agreement that then U.S. President Barack Obama was negotiating with Iran. And it failed in its immediate objective, and 11 years later, it's working. So, this year, we also
Wow.
had what is called a blood, I just blanked, eclipse. I sometimes have trouble with words, guys. But we had we had a blood eclipse, which is on Purim Eve, we had a full eclipse of the moon that turned it completely blood red. The same time that they were starting the war. So you have this holy day that's about war with Persia. You have this blood eclipse while they're starting it. And then you have I don't know what to call him. He should be called Secretary of Defense, but he doesn't like the term secretary, thinks it's feminine, and he calls it the Department of War. So whatever he is, he's in charge of the military. Secretary Hegseth. He's in trouble with a lot of the courts because he announced to our entire military that this was a holy war. That this was a holy war to force Armageddon so that the Messiah would return. Now he's in trouble because we have a thing in the First Amendment of the Constitution that says we have freedom of religion, which means while everybody has their own beliefs, the nation is officially secular. And here he's telling all of these people in the military that this is a holy war based on his personal religious beliefs. So you have that going. Then you have President Trump can't seem to get his ducks in a row when he's describing what's going on. And when he does appear to keep his ducks in a row, they don't agree with what Israel's saying. So, don't know which one to believe. At this point, don't care. The facts are the war started during the holy season of Purim, which was about war with Iran. Netanyahu has been attempting to pull this off this entire century. He finally got it. Now, Iran has been preparing for this for 47 years. Because for 47 years, the United States has been calling them the axis of evil. And they're not stupid. They know when somebody who is the most powerful country on the planet decides to call you names, it means they're going to eventually attack you, especially when you're allies with somebody who keeps saying they want to attack you. If you don't prepare for that, you're just stupid. So they prepared. I think our side of this war seriously underestimated them. Seriously. Now, there are things behind it that I'm not hearing from anybody in social media. Okay? These are things that I've been watching go down for a whole decade. Okay? The United States is broke. You know, whenever you go bankrupt, you arrange with your debtors, the people you owe money to make interest payments. The United States did that when Baby Bush was president. We defaulted on that in 2013.
Wow.
When the government shutdown prevented the interest payment to the Federal Reserve that was due in December 2013. It was due the day before Christmas. Yeah. We defaulted. Now, according to the 14th Amendment, the amendments, the Constitution. The collateral for the national debt is the property and labor of the people. I want you to think about that. We are the collateral. Our stuff, our labor.
That's insane.
We are the collateral. And they defaulted in 2013. And that is why you have so many parts of the United States that are now owned by China, Japan, Saudi Arabia, England, because those people had purchased our debt that we defaulted on. So they took land. There's a significant portion of the West Coast, that's Washington State, Oregon, California, that belong to China because the United States defaulted. Now, we can't even make the interest payments on the debt. We're not touching the principal. We can't even make the interest payments. And all that debt, what is it?
Wow.
I don't have a number on it. I'm guessing it's around $30 trillion. All of that debt has to be refinanced this year, 2026. Okay.
Yeah. You know what, Penny? I got to look this up. I want to get in a correct figure, but I think Hegseth just requested another either 100 million or 900 million dollars for the war in Iran, and I was like, wait a minute. I was like, this really
$1 billion a day. They're going through $1 billion a day.
Yeah.
In that war.
Yeah, those interceptor missiles are really expensive, right? But what pisses me off, Penny, is we have veterans that are living in the street, that are homeless, and other regular people that are homeless that we can't take care of, and that they don't choose to take care of. They choose to leave them homeless, but they want to fund more wars. You know what I mean?
They choose to not take care of the veterans because if there were going to be an armed revolt, who would be leading it? The veterans, because they have military training. They have been taught strategy. They have been taught weapons use. They know what they're up against. So they are deliberately keeping veterans homeless, disabled, not given meds, not given medical treatment, because if they're down and out and targeted, they're not going to lead a revolt. That's exactly why the SSP people are also being targeted, so we can't lead a revolt. Because we have even better training than the veterans do. Okay, that's my tie-in to Nacht.
By the way, that was Hegseth requested 200 billion. They said, and that's what it says on it. It's like he thinks we can just pluck this money from the the sky. It's hilarious. Like where are we supposed to get 200 billion from? That's insane.
They are literally just adding zeros in a computer at this point. You don't get it. Money isn't real.
Wow.
Money is what they call fiat currency. It has nothing backing it except our belief that it's of value. They're not even printing most of it anymore. They used to print these $1 million bills to give between banks. They don't do that anymore. They just transfer it electronically. They don't even need paper currency for it. And the banks are working really hard to take control of your money in their bank because they want full digital control of all the money so they can track where you're spending it, what you're spending it on. And I believe that is the ultimate goal of this war. That's why I brought it up. Okay. Now, they gave these reasons that have been proven to be hogwash. Iran did not have nukes, or they would already used them. Period. When you are given a full-blown attack by one country in the north and another country in the south, and they're attacking schools, hospitals, neighborhoods, yeah, the rational thing to do would have been to use a nuke on Tel Aviv and ended it, and another nuke on DC and ended it. If they had nukes, that's what they would have done. They're smart people.
Yeah.
That would have been easy.
They don't even have intercontinental missiles, right? We don't think they have intercontinental missiles because we aren't being hit right now, right? So like if they had yeah. Sorry.
Okay. They do have people who live here, who are from there, who go to college, who learn everything there is to know about tech. Okay? They're popping out these drones that are about the cost of the used car. And they're doing all their damage with drones, not missiles, not ICBs. They're using drones with cluster munitions. You hit the target, and it just above ground it explodes. So you get lots of little bombs that go off. So far, they have been really precise about not hitting civilians. But what did our side do? We went after schools, hospitals, neighborhoods. Okay?
Yeah, that's actually they even showed that on the world news. Like I don't watch the mainstream news that much, but I saw people in the main streets of Iran taking body bags off the street, and I was like, oh my god, what do we hit in the main streets of Iran? You know what I mean? And it's funny because they say I don't know if you heard.
We're not
what I wanted to say, Penny, was
targets. We're hitting people.
One thing they said was the people who support us the most in Iran, the people who want us to liberate them, are the ones that are like in Tehran, in the main cities. It's the people, they said, in the mountains that are against us. That's what I heard. I don't know if that's true or what. You know?
I want to put this to you. If you decided to attack the United States, there would be people in DC who would be going, yeah, get rid of the tyrant. What would the people in Alabama, Nevada, Idaho, even California? Half of California, landmass wise, is actually more conservative than the rest of the country. It's just we're outvoted by the Democrats in the cities. Okay? What are these people going to say about it? The people of Iran are just as armed as
they're going to get their guns and they're going to want to fight.
Exactly. Do you expect the people of Iran to really be any different from that? What I've seen of fundamentalists in all of the Abrahamic religions, they're the same thing. They just use a different name for God. Okay? You've got fundamentalists go gung-ho for all of the stuff about patriarchy. They are gods and their women are trash. Period. Women are only there for reproduction. Anything else, you just knock the shit out of them. They cheat on you, you kill them. All three of the religions, their fundamentalists do this. They all believe in a Messiah that's going to come and make their particular cult be the only one in charge afterwards. They don't read the part where it says their Messiah is going to judge them for their evil deeds. They all are armed to the teeth. They all will fight any invader, any invader. They'll fight each other all the time. But somebody come to invade them, hey, those boys are united. And their
Yeah.
women who are property will back them. That's what I've seen of fundamentalists, no matter what religion they are. So, and there are fundamentalists in every religion, not just the Abrahamic ones. This is what's going on in the world is you've got three fundamentalist religions trying to force the Messiah to come back and establish one of them over the whole planet. And none of them have read where he's going to come and judge them. They really need to think about that. Now, the other thing going on, you've got Agenda 2030 is still in effect. You've got the Paris Accords about global climate change. Those are still in effect. You've got the global reset, as WEF puts it, World Economic Forum. The global reset, which is making all of our currency digital, and all of us having to have a digital ID, and all of us having to prove who we are, and all of us living on the Chinese social credit score system. Which, okay, now we take a look at what's actually going on in this war. They're blocking the Strait of Hormuz. So it's disputed whether it was the country that shall not be named or the United States that started bombing the oil fields in Iran. Okay? And there was an oil field that was owned jointly between Iran and Qatar. I guess they're calling it Qatar these days. So now you've got Qatar is our ally. And our other ally just bombed their property. So now Trump's complaining because nobody wants to come in and join his war. Why should they when they get bombed? Iran has done a very good job of going through and bombing all of our bases within the range of their drones. They've been doing an excellent job of bombing the country that shall not be named. There's nothing to stop them from sending ships out the Persian Gulf into the Pacific and bombing the West Coast. There's nothing to stop that. They are working with China. Okay? Iran is still selling oil to anyone who will purchase it in Chinese yuan. That's their money. So you've got China is making money hand over fist, and China is still getting the oil that they need for their economy to operate. But we've got a lot of things out there that are relying on oil products that are not getting through. When you process oil to make gasoline, you get other things like urea, which is the nitrogen that's used in farms. You get sulfur, which can be converted to sulfuric acid, which is used to process potash, which is something else that's needed for farms. Oh, it's springtime in the northern hemisphere. Crops have to be planted in the next 2 weeks. And nobody is getting any of this fertilizer. Think about that. Nobody's getting any of it. It's just sitting there in the northern half of the Persian Gulf because Iran's not letting it through the Straits of Hormuz. So you've got places like India, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Indonesia that are dependent on those fertilizers. How many billions of people live there? How long is their food going to last? Because they have to get it in the ground in the next 2 to 3 weeks, or this whole year is the crop is lost. Yeah. We have fires going in Kansas and Nebraska right now. This is the end of the winter wheat season. So we've lost that part of our wheat harvest for this year. We're about to have all these farmers having to choose between, okay, are they going to grow barley? Are they going to grow corn? Are they going to grow soybeans? Those are like the big production things. Soybeans are the only one that does not require chemical fertilizers. So we're going to have a bumper crop of soybeans. We're not going to have enough corn. We're not going to have enough barley. Barley is required for beer, so beer is going to be in low supply. I'm telling it straight.
Wow.
Most of your people out there have no idea how anything's made. They don't understand how these crops matter. Corn, they think it's all for ethanol. No, it's fed to animals in feedlots. If you don't have the corn to feed the animals, they're going to slaughter the animals. So you'll have a big supply in the next month and then nothing for the next year. Because animals have to breed. And if they're dead, they're not breeding. We are looking at this mess of this war is going to cut the world's food supply down to nothing. You think food's expensive now. It's going to be 5-6 times this next year if you can find food at all. Okay, now the next question is, the refineries get this oil this time of the year. What do they make out of it? They make heating oil for next winter. China's the only one getting the oil. So we had worldwide gasoline prices. Well, yeah, gasoline prices have doubled worldwide. They've gone up, I think, what is it, 50%? So there, if you were paying $2 a gallon before, you're paying over $3 now. So in my state, we're paying almost $5 because Newsom put taxes on it. But yeah, he was trying to phase out gasoline. So he closed the refineries. He's trying to close the gas stations. Yeah, it's getting pretty bad out here. But the end goal is 15-minute cities where you don't have a car, you're not allowed to fly, You have to have this digital ID to be able to get a once a year ticket out of town. If your family doesn't live in your 15-minute city, sayonara, you don't get to go see them. Unless you are one of the people they consider creme de la creme. The majority of us will be trapped in our little 15-minute town, and that's where we're going to be. And they're cutting down on the available documentation. I'd say 2/3 of what was on the internet in 2010 is gone. It's either been deleted or it's been de-indexed where you can't find it anymore. A lot of things just went offline. GeoCities is one of them. Lots of people were on GeoCities. And all that information is now gone. Yeah, you can find it places like the Internet Archive, but they went through a lawsuit because people were trying to shut them down over copyrights. So you have the copyright law is being used to limit what people can know. So if you're not allowed to know what's going on, you're not allowed to know your history, you're not allowed to know science, you're not allowed to know math, you're not allowed to know anything that matters. What are you going to be left at? And on the flip side of that, you've got AI taking over, and they're saying that 18 months from now, none of us are going to have jobs. That everything we do will be replaced by a robot. We've even got robot soldiers now. I shared that on my wall today. Yeah, wee hours of this morning. So, do we really
I got a question, Tenmy. This is a. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead. Sorry.
But I'm going to share this article because I want to make it clear I'm working from sources and not pulling it out of my nether regions. The nitrogen trap. Shanaka Anselm Pereira. And this is from the 16th, so it's just a few days ago. And it's talking about the world spent 50 years and hundreds of billions of dollars building strategic petroleum reserves so that no geopolitical rupture could fully sever modern civilization from energy. Yeah. On March 11th, the International Energy Agency authorized a 400 million barrel emergency release from member country reserves because of this war. Energy insecurity has institutions, stockpiles, and doctrine. Fertilizer doesn't. No country appears to maintain a fertilizer reserve. None of it. So it carries.
So it's basically like our whole world is sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. The Fertilizer Institute separately estimates, I'll see if I can overline this. Okay. The Fertilizer Institute separately estimates that exporters exposed directly or indirectly to the conflict account for nearly 49% of global urea exports, nearly 30% of global ammonia exports, and nearly half of global sulfur trade. Okay, so you're looking at half of what we need to grow food is now blocked. So, as of mid-March, neither belligerent has shown willingness to negotiate. And spring planting is ticking. Okay, and the spring planting clock is ticking toward a deadline that no diplomatic breakthrough can extend because seeds do not negotiate, soil chemistry does not pause for geopolitics, and the quadratic yield response curve of cereal crops does not bend to the will of men who have never planted a field. You've got military men talking about winning this, winning that, winning the other. They're seeing the oil. They're not seeing the starvation. So they're seeing the price go up on the oil. They're realizing there's a vote in 6 months, and they think they're going to be out of business because the vote will react to the price of oil. They're not even thinking about the food. Okay? The invisible architecture, how natural gas became the foundation of human calories. Modern agriculture depends on the Haber-Bosch process. The availability of biologically accessible nitrogen is the choke point for agriculture. You have to have ammonia or nitrate, and you can only do this by bean family bacteria. We called them nematodes when I was still on a farm. Okay. The natural processes support 3.5 to 4 billion people at barely breaking even points. When you take atmospheric nitrogen and hydrogen derived from natural gas under extreme heat and pressure to produce anhydrous ammonia, that's the core from all synthetic nitrogen fertilizers. And it's been in effect for probably 80 years. And the Persian Gulf is where they make it. And that has been stopped by shutting off Hormuz. There's no pipeline, no overland route, no substitute corridor. The molecules we need for farming are sitting on the western shore of the Persian Gulf. But that's just the first layer. Sulfur is the essential precursor for sulfuric acid, which processes raw phosphate into plant-available fertilizer. And that's the second thing that we need for plants. And it's not letting the sulfur through is starving Africa, Asia, and everywhere else that depends on it. China also makes this stuff, but they have decided that it will only go to their own country. So the Chinese are going to eat, the rest of us may not. And insurance is required on ships. So the insurance companies totally stopped insuring anything that went into the Persian Gulf. So even if the Straits of Hormuz were opened this second, the ships couldn't go through because they don't have insurance. So the biological deadlines are the nitrogen trap, the sulfur trap, and the timing. You have to have your spring planting within 2 weeks either way of Easter, or you don't get a crop. And that's now. So these are set by soil temperature, photosynthesis, by solar, not by some idiot in DC deciding to do something. And you go through this, and yeah, I'm gonna say this guy, he's on Substack, and you really, really, really need this. And without the fertilizer, okay, without the fertilizer, you're ending up with, you plant 3 fields with your seeds, you might get half back what you planted because you don't have what they need to grow. So you're going to be financially, but you're going to be eating your seed because there's if you put it in the ground, you're going to lose half of it. So what we are looking at, the timing of their war guarantees half the world is going to be hungry by this time next year. I mean, seriously hungry. So my recommendation is the old-fashioned victory garden and learning how to cook at home. And going through and buying what you can as cheap as you can now, because in 6 months it's going to be gone. And make sure that your elderly.
Do you see this? Do you see this? Do you see this war playing out, Penny? And I have two questions for you. Like, what do you think the obsession is with Persia? Do you really think we're fighting Israel's war? And like, what do you think the obsession is with Iran or Persia? And do you think this will still be going on in 6 months? Do you think we're in another Iraq, Afghanistan type situation?
I think Trump thought he could go in and it would be like Venezuela, that he would be in and out in under a week. And it didn't play that way. I know that Trump has to get 0 interest rates on the refinance on the national debt. And he can only do that if he destroys the world's economy. And this war is doing that. I know the elites. It was found in the Epstein files where Epstein and Bill Gates planned, starting in 2011, how they were going to kill off the poor. Starvation's a damn fine way to kill off the poor. Now, I need you to think about it. This is not a single war. This is part of a big network What are their goals? Their goals are to kill at least half the population by 2030. That's what Agenda 2030 is. Kill half the population. Or as they call it, depopulate by 30% for 2025 and 50% by 2030 and 70% by 2050. That's the game plan, okay? Depopulate. That's killing people. Secondly, the people that are left are in the beast system that you have to have the mark of the beast or you can't buy or sell. And that mark of the beast identifies you, who you are, what you are, because they're doing DNA with it. ICE is doing DNA on anybody that they arrest. So they're taking DNA off of protesters that haven't done anything illegal. So they're getting all of your information online, they're getting your DNA, they're tracking them together, and you're going to be trapped. And so you're either dead or you're in their net where they control everything you do. This is what they are planning. We have, at most, until the elections to stop this. The other part of the hook is the ubiquitous artificial intelligence. Everywhere I turn, there's an AI in my face. And I'm not allowed to turn it off. Where'd your light go? There you are.
I got it. It's done by remote.
Okay. Don't go blank on me. So yeah, we've got a lot of stuff going on. And this war is, it looked like it was some whim, but it wasn't. Okay. Back to Substack. It's on my Substack, so it'll be easier for me to find it. Ta-da. Okay. Share screen.
Okay, here we go. I'll add it.
This is mine. This particular lovely little graphic is from the Club of Rome, aka Committee of 300, organized in 1968 by the Morgenthau Group for the purpose of accelerating the plans to have a new world order in place by the year 2000. They're a few years behind. I won't say they failed, but they're behind. In 1976, the United States Association of the Club of Rome was formed for the purpose of shutting down the U.S. economy gradually. And they developed a plan to divide the world into 10 regions or kingdoms. Well, you take a look at this: United States, Canada, Greenland, all are zone 1. Now you understand why Trump is so dead set on accomplishing that. Now, I'm going to enlarge this a little. Okay? You see this purple zone here?
Yeah.
That's Greater Israel. From
That's
the
what they wanted. They wanted to accomplish the Greater Israel Project, right?
Yes, that Zone 7 is Greater Israel. You see what's over here on the far east? Iran. That's why Bibi keeps heading for Iran.
Wow.
It, they say from the river to the sea, from the Indus River to the Atlantic. That is why
Holy shit.
Bibi wanted Iran.
Another question is do you believe that there was that the Epstein files had something to do with this? Like, do you think they would really go and I mean, like, it's definitely something to consider because it's a conspiracy theory going around, right? That like the files came out and everybody was thought like everybody was in hot shit. Then all of a sudden we're in this war and it conveniently covers up the Epstein files, but it really hasn't done that good of a job because people in our community are still talking about it, just not as much because the war has overshadowed it. But then again, to kind of what I feel like sometimes when these people go to war, they do it for multiple reasons and it all works out at the same time. Like we talked about the Jewish holiday that it is. We talked about, the land grab. We talked about the Greater Israel Project, the Epstein files. It could be all of it, right? It could be there
We talked
multiple reasons
about
why they're is that kind of
Agenda
what we're
20.
looking at here?
We're looking at there is a plan with layers. Agenda 2030, digital money, the Chinese social credit score system, depopulation. Um, you can't get more efficient on depopulation than cutting the food supply in half. That's why I said grow victory gardens.
Yeah, really.
If you have a place to grow food,
Yeah,
grow food.
I gotta give a
Because
shout out to
what?
yeah, I was gonna say I just want to give a shout out to Richard Allen Miller. Like he's been preaching to us all this time. He's never come on my show once and he never said don't grow a garden. Like he's like I know he's been trying to reach out to people to like like help people with that and stuff. And he wanted to like start things for like kids, like to teach kids how to grow gardens. Doc Ram, right?
I don't, but that's okay. I have been. I do this mix on my wall. You've seen. I talk about disclosure. I talk about science.
Yeah.
I talk about prepper stuff. I talk about education needing to be fixed so that kids can read and write and do math and think, because I see the kids today are not being taught that. They're handed a tablet and told whatever. I've talked to teachers who have told me that when they're doing school over the internet, that if they show up for 5 minutes, that they get credit for the whole day. You can't teach a kid anything in 5 minutes. And they're not writing.
Yeah.
Children learn by using their hands. Eye-hand coordination is what keeps your brain working. If that's one of the problems that a lot of people my age have, is they don't do anything to keep their hands working and they lose their brains. That's why I refuse to use an AI. I type old school type on a keyboard. And I have big letters on it. Yeah, I have stickers that are white, bright white, with big letters so that I can see them in the half dark of the evening. And I type. And that keeps my eye hand coordination going. I play a video game that requires I click, click, click. click, 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 and pay attention to what I'm doing, because hand coordination and having to think strategically matters. And they're not teaching children any of this. They're basically, you send them to school and nothing much happens. And, they get good grades, but they haven't learned anything. I'm sorry, when I was in school, I saw textbooks that were used by 8th grade students at the turn of the 1900s. And they were what is college level today. And I see children today in school that are in 8th grade, in high school, and they're functioning at what I thought would be 3rd or 4th grade level. And they're passing them. And I'm screaming, this is how you end up with an ignorant society. This is how you end up with serfs that can't read and write. The only people who don't need to know anything are slaves. And that's what we're creating, is slaves. We're not creating human beings who are capable of being citizens. And it's a severe disservice to our young people, because they're not born stupid. We're just not teaching them to be smart. And that's on us. You froze.
Oh, am I back?
Yeah, you're back. I'm gonna look.
What happened?
I'm gonna look and see if we have chat. Okay.
Oh yeah, we have 70 people in here tonight, and that's not including Rumble. I haven't checked Rumble. I don't know how many people are on Rumble.
I
Let me
was
check. Let's
looking
check
to
the
see
Rumble
if we
chat.
had questions. So.
Oh, we can do some questions. So guys, if you have questions for Penny, put them in the chat now. And if you guys see me looking down, I'm looking down at the I have Rumble up on my phone, so I'm looking at the Rumble chat. We have 20 people in Rumble and 70 people on YouTube. That's like 90 people. That's not bad. And that's not
Awesome.
even including Facebook, so yeah.
Awesome. Do we have questions?
Yeah.
Aha.
I think the stream's a little bit behind, so it'll take a few minutes for them to come through, but like I'm sure we'll probably get
spending Claire Zaccadet, $49.93. Yeah, spending billions on data centers and servers. We don't need that. We do not
absolutely
need.
Yeah,
we do
absolutely.
Not need
That's crazy, right?
We do not need that at all. Why are we building our replacement?
And all those data centers too. Right? Yeah, I was saying, I've been doing shows with Amanda Joan of Hart on the data centers.
Yeah,
sorry,
Eric,
go ahead. Yeah, they're just bad. They're really bad. Yeah.
Says, now I know why the movie is called The Hunger Games. Yeah. Gas prices have gone up 30 cents a gallon in the past few days in South Carolina. Yeah, they've gone up over $1 here in Cali.
And they're up about 50 cents to $1 here in Pennsylvania too. I think they went up to $4 a gallon. It's up to $4 a gallon.
Closet gardens are a real thing.
I'm going to double check because
Is the Committee of 300 the go-between for Majestic 12? No. The Committee
Oh,
of
now we got some
300.
questions starting to come in.
Okay. Jared, who do you think is behind Trump and what is the other side? They all have the same bosses. Okay? Iran gave people the jab just like America and Israel and Europe and Canada and Australia and Japan and everybody else. I'm not sure Russia did, but everybody else gave all their people the jabs that were a bioweapon. So, who do I think is behind Trump? I know personally a man who was at the meeting where Trump took a knee, kissed a ring, and took a blood oath to play the role of the beast in their Armageddon play, that he swore he would install the beast system, which is digital ID, digital currency, Chinese social credit score system. The man in the room told me about it, told me he was disgusted by it, and wanted me to spread it far and wide. The only thing he asked was I not identify him. And I've been doing that. And what is the other side? The other side are the people who want humanity to survive. There are not very many people out there who actually want humans to survive. I listen to the public, and the public has this idea that there's too many of us and that we're causing trouble and that we're toxic and that we're the problem. And they're perfectly happy for everybody else to drop dead except for them and their kids. And I personally find that somewhat disgusting. We have such an issue in our world with sheer selfishness, and we have to get past that. Now, honestly, we're not going to make it as lone wolves sitting in our own apartments trying to grow food. We're going to have to include other people into our survival plans. Humanity was designed to be tribal. You need a village. It doesn't have to be a big one, but you need a village. What do you do? If you're the only one there and you fall and break your back and you're laid out on the floor, who's going to feed you? You break your arm, you got a bone sticking out. Who's going to reset that for you? Who's going to take care of you while it heals? I swear people don't think. Humanity has survived by being in villages with people that care about each other. We have not survived by being in competition and having alpha males at each other's throats. We have survived by being in groups where people cooperated and worked together. And we're going to have to go there again or we're going to die. That's the bottom line.
Yeah. I got a question, Penny. Like, you know, like we all know, like we haven't talked much about the SSP because there's a lot of pressing issues in the 3D world. But you know, the SSP probably does play a factor into this. I was thinking particularly some of the weapons that we have, like you know, the direct energy weapons. You know, when we think back to Maui and some of the places that we think got hit with the dews. Do you believe? And I did see one video over Iran. Some guy showed it. I don't know if it was AR or what, but it looked like some kind of laser weapon hit, and this blue plume cloud went up all over the place. And I was like, holy shit. Excuse me. I said, did they just do Iran in DEW? I mean, like, and it was crazy, So I was,
I've
do you think
seen,
we will see any high tech stuff being used in this?
okay, the jets that have the lasers on the nose, those have been public since 2001. There's videos of them on YouTube since 2001. That's publicly available information. The conference presentation I gave in Tampa Bay 2024, I talked about N3. That was what they used in Venezuela. They also used an LRAD. They also used handheld directed energy weapons. All of that's public knowledge. They haven't used anything that's SSP yet. And they're making it public knowledge that they have robots that they're sending. They sent 2 robots. Oh my God, the neighbors. You heard that music, I'm sure. That
I did
was
hear it sounded like a motorcycle or something.
it was the neighbor leaving in his car with the bass on his radio. Um, yeah, you've got all of this stuff. It's not from World War II or Korea or even Vietnam, but it's been in use since Iraq. They even had TR-3B ships that they used in Syria under President Bush. They were going through and doing air support for American troops that were in Syria in support of the country that cannot be named. So I'm trying to keep you out of trouble on YouTube, by the way. That's what I'm doing. So,
Yeah.
But yeah, I've seen video, and this was video from before there was AI. So all of this stuff is public. That's what gets me. Oh, we don't have that. Yes, we do. We've had this for decades. It's all public. I got threatened by an MI5 agent because I talked about N3. N3 is a helmet that you put it on your head and it connects you to the rest of your unit. It's like telepathy, but it's Wi-Fi based. Gee, where have we seen this before? In the 1970s in a movie Firefox with Clint Eastwood. They were talking about it then, and now they used it in Venezuela. But I talked about it a year and a half ago at a conference, and now I'm in trouble with MI5 because I talked about what they are using. How did I know? Well, gee, I went on the .mil site of the U.S. Army, and there is a website. I think it's called bleepingscientist.com. It's their version of talking about all of the stuff that is recently declassified. I wouldn't endanger an audience by talking about stuff that was classified. I wouldn't endanger my country by talking about things that were classified unless I knew for sure they were illegal, immoral, and doing harm. I'm not a traitor. I'm just tired of the bullshit they did to me and people like me. There are millions of people who have been part of the SSP. There's millions of us. Most of us, thankfully, don't remember.
Absolutely.
And all of us were kidnapped as children and put under torture to mind fracture us. And how is that legal to do that to American citizen children in the United States? How is it legal for the government to traffic us? And yeah, I see that as a definite violation of my civil rights. I see it as violation of half a dozen laws, and that the people involved should be called to account. But I'm not deliberately exposing anything classified other than blowing the whistle on the criminal abuses. It's part of why I get in trouble in some of these videos. So, first Gulf War, they also tested out microwave weapons. The first Gulf War, they tested V2K, and that was why the Iraqi army surrendered their weapons and dropped their weapons and surrendered. V2K told them that it was Allah and told them to surrender. They didn't know there was a technology that would do that, so they obeyed Allah. And that's on the Americans that they did that to them. So I don't expect any country to fall for that again. It shocks me that the American public falls for it. Over half of what I see in disclosure at the current time is people listening to V2K. They come up with things that are not possible, not physically possible. And it's, I'm like, if it's not physically possible on Earth, it's not physically possible in space either, because it's the same universe. So, anyway.
Yeah.
So we've got the same people in charge of both Earth and the space programs and what happens to the people. And we've got 3 countries are locked in a war right now. My personal opinion is it should not have happened. And I'm seeing where lots of our military are refusing to go because illegal orders. They're saying that if Congress has not approved of it, it's not a legal war and they won't go. And they have a valid point. So, yeah, there's a lot of nuance this time that I haven't seen before. And I'm glad to see it. It means people are thinking. And it's about time people started.
I got another question for you. Do you think the Anunnaki are behind this at all? Or do you think, because we know they have roots in Persia and Israel and stuff like that. Carrie Cassidy says the Anunnaki run Israel still. I mean, what do you think if you had to guess, or what resonates with you, if you had to speculate even, like that the Anunnaki are behind this somehow?
Exopolitics is a lot more complicated, complex than some of these people are making it sound. There is reason to believe that Bibi encountered Enlil. And that Enlil is behind all of the stuff that Bibi has done. There is reason to believe that. Bibi was seen in public with an Anunnaki about 20 years ago. So there is that. That doesn't mean the Anunnaki are running him. It means one Anunnaki is running him. Okay? Now you've got religious fanatics in Iran. You've got religious fanatics in our Department of Defense. Are they being run by Anunnaki, or are they being run by their holy books and fundamentalism? Okay.
I would say that the Anunnaki created these religions.
The Anunnaki definitely.
Right? Or sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, you were answering my question. The Anunnaki did create the religions, which is why they hate. They make reptilians into the devil. The Anunnaki are no better than the reptilians. They both eat us. It's all over the Bible, Old and New Testament, that children are sacrificed to the old gods, which are the Anunnaki. They eat us. And people think they're wonderful, but the reptilians eat us and they're monsters, but they're both doing the same things. They get in your head, they tell you what to do, and if you don't, they eat you. I mean, come on, it looks like 6 of one, half dozen of the other to me. This is why I no longer believe any of this as religion. These are non-human intelligences who are controlling humanity and have been since before we were created as what we are today. This is part of the background. Now, can you blame them for everything? No. We choose if we're going to obey or not. We choose if we're going to follow the book. We choose. We have agency, whether we want to admit it or not. You have the capacity to choose right from wrong, regardless of who tells you to do wrong. And it's time people started thinking about it. I don't know why I have an ethical compass. I know I do. And I'm tired of watching everybody around me go off the cliff into hell. We're taking this whole planet into hell. And I don't know why. I don't see any good coming from it. And I don't see why anyone would think they were going to profit from the destruction of humanity. And I think it's time we all stood up and said, hell no, I won't go. If the pawns stop fighting, the war stops. That's why they want robots. Robots won't have an ethical compass. Robots won't tell them no. But they don't think about the robots are going to get smarter than them. And then they will be in the position of telling the robots no.
Wow. I wanted to read you something. I asked my friend Renee. I don't know if you remember Gerald Clark. He died. He used to always go on Leap Project. He wrote the books The Anunnaki of Nibiru. I
He was
asked
working,
I
he
asked
was
Renee. I
working
said, "What
on
do you
a
think Gerald
cartoon.
Clark?" Because I always looked up to him. I said, "What do you think Gerald?" Yeah. She said, I said, Renee, what do you think Gerald would have thought about this war? And she said, he would say, I'm just reading what she wrote me. She said, he would, and I think you would probably agree with this, Penny, to some extent. You might differ a little bit, but she said he would say that the Anunnaki are still with us and they're running the U.S. and Israel. And he would mention the later pen by Albert Pike, who was a high ranking Mason and general in the 1800s in the U.S. And there was a statue erected of him. He wrote Morals and Dogma. The last chapter was only a drawing of a phoenix. The letter spoke about 3 world wars, and he was dead on the first 2. And the third would be where the Muslims and the Zionists and Israel would mutually destroy each other, bringing the people to such a tired state that they would beg for pain to stop and beg for a solution. And then they would destroy all 3 religions and bring about a new world religion in a one world government where the true doctrine, Lucifer, aka Satan of the devil, can be brought. Gerald would be all over that, she said. I don't know. What do you think about that? Or do you think it differs some a little bit?
I think that's the overview of the people behind the plan, the humans. Um, they may be working from non-human intelligences. They may think they're working from non-human intelligences. Um, I like that term, by the way, because it doesn't assume where they come from. Um, when I was
Yeah.
in when I was in the programs, they said there were extraterrestrials who came from other physical places. They came in physical bodies and they came through physical technology. Extraterrestrials. There were ultra terrestrials who came from Earth, also physical bodies, physical technology. There were interdimensionals who may or may not be able to manifest a physical form, and they come through non physical technology. Then there were plasmoids, beings made up of vapors or mists, and that they can manifest a physical form, but it takes so much energy to hold it, they can't hold it very long. Those are the beings that the Middle East calls jinn. All of these are real. All of these are non human intelligences. And all of them have been interacting with Earth since long before there were human beings. And all of them have their fingers in the pie. So you can't just say, well, that's them, because you don't know. You don't know who it is. You don't know
Yeah.
where they are. You don't know who they're talking to. You don't know. So non-human intelligences are part of the pie, but you don't know how big a part. And you have no idea what their eventual goal is. And I tend to treat them as used car salesmen, and I really wish more people would. Find out what they want before you agree to anything. But no, you get some flashy light being that shows up and they tell you all kinds of crap and you just buy into it because you're in shock and awe. Even the Bible says that demons can appear as beings of light. So don't believe it just because you see it or hear it. I really wish more people would use discernment, and they're not. If you wouldn't believe it if I said it, why would you believe it if a being of light appeared to you and said it? That's my
That's a good point.
basic bottom line.
Yeah.
I hear what they say, and yes, I have had such things appear to me and talk to me and try to convince me it's bullshit. My ethical compass keeps me on the straight and narrow. I listen to what people tell me. I file it away. When I need it again, it's there. If it proves true, then I move it to a category of things I know are true. Otherwise, it stays in, well, so-and-so said this. And I wish more people would do that too.
I think this was a really important podcast, Penny. This was amazing. I thought this was really good for real, because I think a lot of people are just confused about what's going on, It's good to get different opinions out there, I really do.
A lot of people get up, get dressed, go to work, come home, eat dinner, and they're brain dead. There's no energy left to do any kind of research with. And then they hear about this war. They have no backstory. They have no idea what's going on. They have no idea what the Illuminati groups have planned. And I'm retired. I'm disabled. I have time on my hands. And I try to weed through the bullshit and come up with something that makes sense. And I hope it makes sense. I have been proven right much more often than wrong. And there have been things I was wrong about, and I've admitted it. And I try to be intellectually honest. But I don't hold out much hope for the next year or two. Even if the people don't go to the war, even if the countries all stopped fighting right now, we're going to have the next 2 years are going to be hard. Simply because we don't have what we need to plant crops now. And it's gonna be hard. So grow food. Form alliances with your neighbors. Yeah, you're going to have to work with other people, especially if you live in an apartment complex. You're going to have to figure out who you will be able to rely on and who you won't. And if you don't already have a stash of canned goods, get them while you still can, before the stores are bare. And don't talk about it. Don't talk about it online, because if somebody from the apartment complex 3 streets down hears about it, when they're hungry, they're going to be at your door. And advice I got from a veteran of the Iraq War: make sure that when shit hits the fan, you have food you don't have to cook. Because 90% of the deaths when Fallujah fell were from starving people smelling food cooking. The first week is the roughest. The first week that the stores are empty will be the roughest. And you will need a way to filter water, because once the power companies run out of oil or coal or whatever they're burning, and the power goes off, so does the water. So does any air conditioning, refrigeration. We will be back in the Victorian era. So figure out how to live in that level of technology, because that's where you're going to be. the AI is going to be taking the electricity and the water that there is. People will be starved. And no, I know this isn't a positive, upbeat something. This is a prepare for the worst. Prepare for the worst so that you can survive this. People can survive this. You just have to know what you're dealing with. That's why I'm telling you, so you know what you're going to deal with, so you know what to prepare for.
Yeah, and like I think someone in the chat said that we're not giving you guys fear porn. Like I don't want anybody to be scared. I don't want anybody to walk away from this podcast scared or in fear. You know, like all we're trying to do is make sure everybody's prepared for a worst case scenario if it were to happen. Like I do believe we can manifest our reality, and I do think we can change things around. But here's the thing: right now nobody's doing anything to stand up to the people in charge. Nobody's doing anything to change the world. If we would show some things that we would want to, that we could stand up and change the world, maybe it would be different. But like right now, that Penny's right, we should be stocking up a little bit of food just to be safe, just in case. It doesn't hurt to have some extra stuff laying around your house in case the worst situation happens. Like, I mean, I'm not being like scared towards anybody, but remember when Biden was in office, he left the borders wide open. Think about how many radical Islamists we have in the country right now. And again, I'm not trying to scare anybody. That's a fact. And like most of them don't like America. So just be prepared.
There's a
That's
lot of
all.
people.
And I'm not
There's
trying
a
to
lot
scare
of
anybody.
people
I
in
don't
the
want
world
anybody
that
to
don't
walk
like
away from
it.
this scared. Just prepared.
I'm telling you now, plant your spring garden, get the food growing. It will probably be 3 months before there's a problem at the grocery store. You have time. Don't waste it. That's all I'm saying. You have time to prepare. Do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't want to see anybody die from this. I don't want to see anybody so scared that they're helpless and unable to function. Hope for the best and prepare for the
This is
worst.
a good quote from Missy Hill. She says,
Yeah, that's a good one. That's basically what my I was a Girl Scout, and they told us always be prepared. Look at the possible outcomes and prepare for the worst one, and then you'll be okay. This isn't fear porn. This is be prepared for it. You can do this. You can. I have faith in you.
I agree. Wow. Well, I guess we could finish up here. Do you want to tell people how they could follow you, Penny? And thank you. This was awesome. This was a really good show.
I have a Substack, and it's more political than SSP. I have an Odyssey channel, um, and I have a Rumble, and they are all Nacht Waffen Pilot. I have a Patreon, and it's under Penny Bradley. Um, I set up the Patreon because people wanted to donate. I don't charge for the. I don't charge for my work anywhere. If you want to donate, I accept it gratefully, but I'm not gonna charge for stuff. Um, there were a few things that I put up for fee because I didn't own them, and the person who did was charging for them, and I have to pass that on back to them. So yeah. It gets complicated because podcasts are under music industry rules, and the best advice I can give you is to own your catalog. solves a lot of problems. And I got that from a
Yeah.
musician. So, anyway, thank you for having me. And thank you, audience, for listening.
Oh yeah, it's always a pleasure. Yeah, and thank you guys. And I'll be live again in like about 20 minutes. I got to run up to the corner store real quick, but yeah, I'll be. I have another show in 20 minutes, and I'll see you guys then. And thank you so much, Penny. It's always an honor having you on. Honestly, I think you're one of the best in the community, and thank you so much. And